You are walking down a busy street. Hundreds of people surround you, faces, footsteps, voices. And yet, in a strange way, you feel completely alone, unseen. Like you could trip, shout, or vanish and no one would truly notice. That feeling is real. But the real answer is far stranger than you think. Because the more people there are around you, the less visible you become. Not less visible to their eyes, less visible to their minds. And under the right conditions, that invisibility can decide whether a stranger lives or dies. Let me take you back to a March night in 1964. A young woman named Kitty Genovese was attacked outside her apartment building in Queens, New York. The story that spread afterward claimed that 38 people watched from their windows and did nothing. That number was later shown to be wrong. The truth was messier, but the question it raised was so unsettling that it launched an entire field of science. The question was simple: why do people freeze? Two psychologists, Darley and Latané, decided to find out. They didn't trust the newspaper version. They wanted to test the human mind directly, so they built an experiment. They brought participants into a room and had them talk to other people through an intercom. Then, during the conversation, one of the voices began to choke. The voice gasped. It struggled. It sounded like a real medical emergency. Here is what Darley and Latané discovered. When a person believed they were the only one listening, they helped almost immediately. 85% rushed to get help. But when they believed 4 other people were also listening, only 31% did anything at all. The more witnesses there were, the less likely any single person was to act. They called it the bystander effect. Think about how backwards that is. You would expect that more people means more help, more eyes, more hands, more safety. But the human mind does the opposite. The crowd doesn't multiply your courage, it divides your responsibility. And that is the key phrase: diffusion of responsibility. When you are alone and someone needs help, the responsibility is 100% yours. There is no one else. The weight sits entirely on your shoulders, and so you move. But when you are surrounded by others, your brain quietly does the math. It splits that weight. If 20 people see the same emergency, your share feels like 1/20th. Someone else will handle it. Someone more qualified. Someone closer. Someone braver. Except everyone in the crowd is thinking the exact same thing, so no one moves. And the silence of the group becomes its own signal. You glance around. Nobody else looks alarmed, so you decide it must not be serious. You stay calm because they are calm. They stay calm because you are calm. A loop forms, made of nothing but borrowed reassurance. Psychologists have a name for this too: pluralistic ignorance. It means a room full of worried people, each one hiding their worry, each one reading everyone else's hidden worry as proof that nothing is wrong. You have felt this: the fire alarm that everyone ignores because no one else is moving. The person crying on the train that everyone pretends not to see. The awkward situation in a meeting that everyone notices and no one names. In each of those moments, you became invisible, and so did everyone else. But why does the mind work this way? Why would evolution build a brain that goes quiet exactly when action matters most? To understand that, you have to understand something deeper. Something about who you become when you disappear into a group. In the 1950s, a psychologist named Leon Festinger studied what happens to people in crowds. He noticed that when individuals gather into a large enough mass, something shifts inside them. Their sense of being a single, accountable person starts to dissolve. He called this Deindividuation, the loss of the individual self. When you are one face in a sea of faces, the normal rules loosen. You feel less watched, less judged, less like you. And that can cut both ways. A psychologist named Philip Zimbardo pushed this idea further. He ran experiments where people were made anonymous. Hoods, masks, identical clothing, no names. And he found that anonymous people behaved more extremely than identifiable ones. They were more willing to deliver what they believed were painful shocks. The mask didn't change who they were, it changed how visible they felt. And visibility, it turns out, is one of the quiet anchors of conscience. So here is the strange truth. The crowd doesn't just make you less likely to help a stranger. It can make you a slightly different person altogether. When you vanish into the group, two things happen at once. You stop feeling responsible, and you stop feeling seen. And those two feelings together are powerful enough to reshape behavior that you would have sworn was fixed. Now, think about your ancestors. For most of human history, you did not live among strangers. You lived in a small band, 30 people, maybe 50. Everyone knew your name, your family, your reputation. If someone in your group was in danger, there was no diffusion of responsibility because there was no anonymous crowd to diffuse into. You were always seen, always accountable. Your reputation was your survival. In that world, your brain never needed a defense against the crowd because the crowd did not exist. You evolved for the village, not the city. And then, in a blink of evolutionary time, everything changed. You were dropped into a world of millions, subway cars packed with people you will never see again, cities where you can walk for an hour and not meet a single person who knows your name. Your ancient brain, built for a band of 50, now has to navigate oceans of strangers, and it does not have the wiring for it. So it falls back on the only tools it has. It reads the faces around you for cues. It splits responsibility among the crowd. It quiets your alarm when others seem unbothered. These were never flaws. In a small village, they were perfectly reasonable instincts. It is only in the modern crowd that they misfire. This is why the bystander effect is not a story about bad people. The participants in Darley and Latané's experiment were not cruel. They were ordinary. Kind even. They wanted to help. Many of them trembled, sweated, and agonized while they sat frozen. The cruelty was never in the person. It was in the math the brain ran without asking permission. So, what breaks the spell? This is the part that matters, because the same science that explains the freeze also tells you how to thaw it. The bystander effect feeds on ambiguity and anonymity, so you starve it of both. If you are ever the one in trouble, do not shout to the crowd. The crowd will diffuse you into nothing. Instead, point at one person, make eye contact, speak directly. You, in the blue jacket, call an ambulance. The moment you single someone out, you collapse their share of responsibility from 1/20th back to 100%. You make them visible again, and a visible person acts. And if you are the bystander, the one standing in the crowd, now you know the trap. You know that your calm might be borrowed, that the stillness around you is not proof of safety, that everyone is waiting for someone, and that someone could be you. Simply knowing the bystander effect exists has been shown to make people more likely to break it. Awareness is the antidote. So the next time you stand in a crowd and feel that strange, quiet invisibility settle over you, remember what it really is. It is not the world ignoring you. It is millions of years of village instinct, lost inside a city it was never built for. You are not invisible. You are simply standing in the one place your ancient brain never learned to see. And the moment you remember that, you become visible again, to the crowd, and to yourself.